offensive line. You know, in the middle there, you know, to add Chad Ryland, the kicker from Maryland, also one of City's teammates at Eastern Michigan, you know, over the last few years, you know, to add him and then add a little bit, you know, of playmaking there on the outside between the two wide receivers with Booty and Douglas. You know, those two guys kind of complement each other as well. Booty's played inside, he's played outside. Douglas has done a little bit of the same. And then in between them, you know, another specialist with Bryce Behringer. So to be able to add two of the very top players at their positions, and Chad and Bryce to the team, certainly was an opportunity that, you know, we didn't want to pass up on. And then finishing up there with the aptly named Amir Speed and Zay Bolden. So two guys who bring a little bit of position versatility from their backgrounds, defensively in the secondary, and then also on fourth down. So kind of a diverse group there from, you know, the big guys, the beef, up the middle to the speed, quite literally there with these defensive backs and wide receivers.
Thank you. We'll open up for questions. We're going to start with Dakota Randall. Encourage others to raise their hand. I'm not getting any audio, Dakota. You're not muted, but I'm not getting any audio. We'll skip ahead to Mark Daniels and then come back to Dakota.
I fixed it, but yeah, okay. Thank you.
Good. All right. Hey, Matt. I wanted to ask you about Kayshawn. Obviously, maybe a while ago, it seemed like the next great LSU receiver after a phenomenal freshman year. How much potential do you see with this pick, and what does the team have to do, and what does Kayshawn have to do to realize that potential that a lot of people saw, a few years ago?
Just got off the phone with, you know, some of these undrafted guys who, you know, were looking to sign, and, you know, had the message for them that really goes for everybody. Now the opportunity is yours, and it's up to you to make the most of it. Kayshawn had an unfortunate injury in 2021, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to come back from those things, and it's really going to be up to him to come in here with the right mindset. He's got all the potential in the world. It's if he wants to apply himself and to reach that potential, and look, we're going to do everything we can to help him succeed. We're going to give him every resource we can. As the saying, you know, goes, you know, players are our greatest resource, and you know, we've made an investment in Kayshawn here in the 6th round. So, you know, looking forward to see what he can do with his opportunity.
Thanks, Matt.
We'll go back to Dakota Randall.
Thanks, Stacy. Matt, you kind of touched on it, but last year we talked a lot about the speed in that draft class. Seemed to target a lot of speed and athleticism this year too. Just at first look, overall, how would you characterize this class and what you're able to do this weekend in terms of players drafted and maneuvering around the board?
A lot of movement. Always trying to put ourselves in position to get a player that we want, and then, you know, try and move, you know, kind of like a roadmap from position to position. You know, I would characterize it as very diverse, just given from, you know, some of the schools that we're looking at, you know, from Oregon and UCLA out west to, you know, Troy and Jackson State, you know, a couple, you know, maybe not household names in football, you know, down in the Southeast. A lot of good programs down there. Obviously, the national champions with Coach Smart in Georgia, but there's a lot of good players down there, and they can't all go to the SEC. You know, so just trying to find as many good players as we can all across the country, and then, you know, we really kind of run the gamut here position-wise, interior offensive line to tackle, to corner to wide receiver. So, and then, you know, with a kicker and a punter, you know, it's a pretty diverse group of positions and players from all around the country, big schools, small schools, Pac-12, Big Ten, you know, so we got them covered here.
Thank you.
Next question, Zach Cox, followed by Mike Reese.
Hey, Matt, I know you touched on the versatility of some of these O-linemen off the top. With City specifically, is he somebody that you think could maybe play some tackle for you guys, or are all three of those players more interior line?
These guys will move around. Coach Clem, will give them opportunities. We'll try and fit them in the best spot possible. City does have some background at left tackle. He's been at guard here the last couple years. He's not a little guy. He's got plenty of athleticism. He's got plenty of power. So we'll see how it goes and try and find the best spot for him. And the same thing with Jake, who's got some versatility, playing center and guard. As another saying goes around here, the more you can do. So looking forward to having those guys and seeing what they can do at multiple spots.
Great, thank you.
Next question, Mike Reese, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Matt, just to follow up on that, in the pre-draft press conference, we were talking about your visit with Onwenu and how he was a different body type, right, than maybe we have been accustomed to with the guards. These two guys look similar, right? Like I'm seeing 6'4", 323 for City, if I have it right. 6'2", maybe 338 in that range for Antonio. I'm wondering, is this at all, and I might be overthinking it, tied to like, hey, the quarterback we have, like we gotta keep this thing, big guys in there, or am I overthinking that? Is there any thought process there, with that?
Antonio certainly bears a resemblance to Mike. Mike's a little bit bigger than Antonio, but I think I can see how you can make that comparison just looking at the two. Antonio's had a little bit of a different background and playing on both sides of the ball. So if you really want to get in the diversity of some of the players, that's another guy who's done a lot of different things for Coach Kelly out at UCLA. But yeah, setting the depth of the pocket, I don't think that there's a team in the league that's not going to tell you that that's not important. So that's something that we want to do, but you can't just have a bunch of slugs in there. You got to be able to find some guys who can bend, move laterally, redirect. And look, we're going to face all sorts of different kinds of pressure from the interior. But number one, if you're getting run through, it's going to be a real long day. So, I think you can say that just about any team that's trying to put together a big, strong team up front, and that's certainly something that we want to do, along with having the right kind of play style. We want these guys to have a real toughness and grit to them, and that doesn't just, like I said in the pre-draft press conference, that just doesn't come from a magic wand. So a lot of these guys have that innate, and looking forward to seeing them get after it here.
And just a quick follow-up, different topic. Isaiah Bolden was talking about just having a little bit of pride, being the only HBCU player drafted. Just as a personnel director, could you comment on what you're seeing from the HBCUs and just sort of maybe Isaiah himself too?
Yeah, Isaiah coming from maybe the most high-profile HBCU here right now with Coach Prime, spending his time down there. Again, Isaiah, Florida kid, went to Florida State, ended up at Jackson State. So this is a kid who, Southeast kid, growing up down in Florida. Football is in a lot of those guys' veins. Was able to spend some time with Isaiah here in the pre-draft process, and certainly looking forward to getting to know him better and congratulate him on representing the HBCU. I think that's a great thing.
Next question, Andrew Callahan, followed by Greg Bedard.
Hey, Matt, we spoke to you last year, and I know it was noted at the pre-draft press conference, the idea of emphasizing speed. It was something you wanted to get faster last year. Entering this draft, and now afterward, do you feel like you went in with any specific goals similar to last year, and did you accomplish that? Yeah,
it seems to be my most well-used quote is, if you want speed, draft fast guys. So, thought we would just hammer that home here with Amir Speed, so you guys can keep having fun with that one. But you want fast guys, you better draft them. So with Isaiah, with Amir, a bunch of these guys, even the guys we took in the earlier rounds, our strength staff does a great job and is going to try and get everything out of these guys. But you got to have just naturally fast guys, and that's what a lot of these players are. And we're always looking to upgrade, our team across the board, with all their skill sets. But, the league's only getting faster and faster. So we don't want to just, try and keep up. We want to push the pace here.
And then a quick follow-up, just to stick with the Mike Onwenu theme, because of course, does the team still envision him as starting at right guard, considering a lot of the old linemen you drafted today are on the interior?
Yeah, a great thing about Mike is, he came in here, he did what was asked of him, but, he's really kind of settled in at guard. Like I talked about, you can say we drafted 3 guards. Well, Jake's got a lot of experience at center, said he's got some experience at tackle. And, one thing you look at, a lot of the good teams that we've had around here, and certainly if you look at those 2 teams who are playing on the final weekend this year, you can't have enough good offensive linemen. So it's just something that you can never have enough of. And if you don't have enough, it's going to be really hard on you. So looking forward to getting these guys in the mix, and they're just going to have to come in here and compete with the rest of the crew, Mike and David and Cole and all the other guys, out to the tackle position as well.
Thanks, Matt.
And it looks like the last question here, Greg Bedard, unless anybody else raises their hand. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, Matt. I jumped on a little late, so apologies if you already addressed this. But to further the offensive line discussion, you guys added a bunch of guys who have versatility, but you didn't really add anybody who has, quote unquote, tackle traits. Did it just not present itself, that opportunity? Do you really like what you have in Reef and Anderson, and you got Stuber coming back who we didn't see a lot of? Can you just address where you guys think you are right now at tackle?
Right. So, signed 3 guys in free agency at the position. Re-signed Connor, signed Calvin Anderson, kind of re-signed him since we had him for a short spell here before. But signed Calvin Anderson, and then with Riley. So, we got a lot of bodies there right now. Again, wouldn't really want to take any of the guys that we got. Do I want to take Christian Gonzalez off this team and, add a tackle? Those are the decisions you got to make. So, we could have drafted a tackle in the first round, and I'm sure the question would be, well, did you address corner? So, there's only so many picks, and certainly only so many picks up front. So I think we've definitely got a lot of, good guys there to work with. Again, you mentioned Andrew Stuber, drafted him last year. He's kind of new to the mix. So again, I don't want to say he's an extra draft pick, but he's kind of an unknown, just like some of these draft picks are coming in. So, we do our research. We know what the player is in college, but it's a whole new game here now. So we'll see what all these guys can do to mix in with the free agent crowd. And, we do have some good solid depth there. And we'll just see, let these guys go in and compete just like at any other position. These guys are going to have to come in and compete and earn that time.
Thanks, Matt.
The thread of the last question inspired 3 more. So we're going to go with Andrew Callahan, followed by Dakota Randall.
Matt, I also jumped in just late, so apologies if you've been asked this, but with respect to the tight end position, you don't have anyone under contract past this upcoming season. Didn't draft one here today. What's the thought process at that position?
Thought process was those guys went really fast, and they just kept coming off. So that was just the way the draft, unfolded. There were some guys up top. There was some good depth in the middle of the draft, and those players came off really, really fast. I don't know all the history of the position and the drafts, but sometimes a guy goes, just like I mentioned before, a guy goes, and then it's like an avalanche, and that position just kind of keeps falling and falling and falling, and so you got to still trust your board, and you want to not just draft a guy to say, hey, we drafted a tight end. Well, if he's not the right fit, if he's not what you're looking for, then you don't want to waste a draft just to say, okay, well, now we feel good, we drafted a tight end. We had a couple guys that we really liked. They just went, and that's just kind of the way it's going to go at any position in the draft. Just got to kind of take them as they come.
it seemed like there were a couple guys that fell at least in the late third round or maybe early fourth. Is there an instance where sometimes a medical comes up and you might like the player, but it's just too much of a risk from that standpoint?
Yeah, again, it's always the fit that we're looking for with the player. So, sometimes it's medical, sometimes it's character, sometimes it's scheme. We're trying to put all that together and come to, really an ultimate comfort level and a consensus on how the player is going to be used in our offense. We had some guys that we liked that just didn't fall for us to be able to get one of those guys.
Looks like two final questions, Dakota Randall and Mike Reese.
Hey, Matt, a couple more Shrine Bowl alums, DeMario and Antonio. How big of a role did the time you spent with them at the Shrine Bowl play in your evaluation and decision to eventually select them, and specifically on DeMario, what intrigues you about him as a prospect?
So going into the Shrine Bowl, two guys that we identify that we certainly would like to work with, and then you just get that comfort level, and you really get to know the player as a person and as a player, what they can do, and being able to work, Troy and the rest of the staff out in Vegas, and in Troy in particular, with his prolific career as a punt returner, being able to work with DeMario and all those guys, and Troy and Ross, as wide receivers, being able to work with those guys, and then to, the offensive staff and kind of really being able to work with Antonio. We definitely like those guys going into the game. We were really happy they were on our team. And so it kind of just further solidified our feelings on the players after spending the week with them.
Thank you.
And it looks like the last question is Mike Reese.
And I was curious about the trade with the Jets, and I know we've seen it before, but where it's a division rival, is that an awkward call for your guys, or how's that work? And just the trades in general, just 3, I think, for the Patriots, which I would say most people would say, that was expected more, given how many picks you went in with. Was it just sort of quiet this year in terms of the market overall?
Pat Storr did a great job again, working the phones with the Jets, and we've got good relationships with the Jets. Joe Douglas does a great job. Rex Hogan, those guys. We're competitors, certainly on the field, but you get to know a lot of these guys, whether you're working with them, like Pat was able to do with Joe in the past, or when you're on the road as an area scout, sometimes those other area scouts in your area from other teams, they're as much your coworkers as the people who are wearing the same logo as you are. So we all have relationships throughout the league, and those relationships help certainly when it comes to draft day and trades. And look, Pat and Elliott Wolf and Cam Williams, those guys, myself, but principally those 3 guys, especially Pat and Elliott, really work the lines hard and constantly making calls. And the amount of offers that get made either to us or to other teams, pales in comparison to the actual amount of trades that get done. That's just, again, kind of with how the draft board falls at a certain position. It takes 2 to tango, and look, there's other teams that are trying to get in as well. And if you don't have the best offer, then, obviously you're going to lose out on that spot, or you're not going to be able to move back or move up. So, but I would say those guys really worked the lines hard. There's certainly spots where we were trying to move up and it didn't work out, and am able to rest really easy knowing, hey, we did everything we could to try and get up and get that player, or hey, I'm really glad that we had patience here in that situation and let things come to us. So it's a delicate balancing act, trying to put yourself in position for a player.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. And once again, thanks, Kaylee.